All right, we are live. Episode 89. Kalen's trying to get his screen figured out. Chad's still trying to get dinner down. But we're ready to go. It's another big week. Had some big news locally, which Chad will share in a sec. But yeah, how are we feeling? You know, we got together Saturday. It's nice to see you boys survive Saturday night. And what's going on today?
Well, let me tell you, Sunday was rough. I can openly admit that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Me and Ash moved at a different speed on Sunday. We were moving a little bit slower. That's a safe way to put it.
Yeah, I would imagine. I'm actually really curious to see how Kalen's wife is feeling after first night out. But keep going. Go ahead, Chad.
But yeah, no. Saturday night was a great night for us boys, and we had some fun. I know we're gonna have our GF2 solo party, just the boys, in a couple weeks. Can't wait for that one.
Hell yeah.
But I do want to give a massive shout out to the Western Mustangs football team out of our hometown of London, Ontario, who won the Canadian National Championship, so the Vanier Cup. So a big shout out to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, to our boy down in Jackson, Mississippi, Lane. Him and the boys there with Dion, they won the SWAC championship. So now they're
going to play the Cricket Bowl. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's their version of the national championship.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, huge shout out to them in Lane. So congratulations to them as well. And it's kind of a winning weekend. Even our boy Josh's Lions won. I'm sure we're going to get to that soon. I'm sure he was happy. And his high school football team won the district championship. It was winning. Everybody we know is winning this weekend.
Yeah. CCH got it. I think CCH won the junior and the senior, which is pretty.
Yeah, they cleaned house.
Yeah. Pretty par for the course, I guess, right? Like that's kind of how they roll. But Kalen, how are things at your house on Sunday morning?
The wife got to sleep in a little bit.
Yeah, good for her. Hey,
yeah,
she deserved it. She was a good sport, but she deserved a little bit of sleep after that night.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I mean, we won too. The Titans were off, so no injuries, so that's winning, right?
Yeah, if anything, they got maybe a little bit healthier. They got to see Adrian Peterson play for the Seahawks, which probably stinks because he actually looked like an NFL running back for the Seahawks for some reason.
Oh, come on. He got like 1.8 yards a carry. But that's about I know we don't talk a lot of fantasy, but it seems like ever since Henry went down in our fantasy league, guys, every running back I've picked up has either been cut or got injured immediately after that. Even Elijah Mitchell, he actually did kind of well this weekend. Now it looks like he's going to be out for a bit. So
do me a favor and go pick up whoever's supposed to be replacing Dalvin Cook, because the Steelers got Minnesota this week, and that guy looked like he was playing okay. So I don't know. It was a pretty good weekend, pretty successful weekend. We're gonna get into my success a little bit later on because it's part of the show, obviously, because I write the show. But as we count down, have you guys seen the weather at this Bills and Patriots game? Because it looks like today is going to be a shit show. Chad, there's snow everywhere. The goalposts are moving. Alex Smith and Randy Moss were on the field trying to throw the ball back and forth. Even Randy Moss couldn't catch it. It was nuts.
And anyway, it's not even like the nice
shitty
snow, like that sleet snow. You did that all weekend, and you won money though, didn't you? So
yeah, I'm betting the over again. It's only 41.5. I'm still taking it.
What did our boy Palmer say? Only wimps bet for the under, right? Except I'm sure
we can't repeat a lot of the stuff that.
Palmer I was just saying he used a little bit more flavorful wordage than what I just used right there.
He did not say wimp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that guy is not PG-13. There's a reason that we have not had him as a guest. So,
and it's not because he's an Eagles fan, right?
Yeah. As we count down at Chad, when you see it, you're gonna be like, "Whoa!" This is the kind of game where people are like, "Oh, it's football weather." Like, not if you ever played before. Yeah, not if you ever played before. But
now I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, we've got lots to talk about. AFC playoffs is a logjam. NFC playoffs are starting to tighten up a little bit, but there's still quite a few teams that are in contention here. But really quickly, is this the biggest Monday Night Football game of the year?
I think to date it has to be, right, given the circumstances and how late we are in the season.
Mm-hmm. And I was thinking that, like, on the way, like, driving around actually today, I was thinking this is probably the first time that Shane isn't going to go into a Monday night thinking or talking about how shitty the game is. Can we talk about something else besides the game? There's actually a lot to talk about this game. It's amazing. The weather, I mean, both teams are built to play in this weather. I mean, New England's, their running game is pretty freaking good. I mean, they're going to be running into a buzzsaw potentially with the Bills defense there and their run stoppage. But this is a New England Buffalo playoff style game from years of old that we finally get to see again in the regular season.
Right, and I put together a same game parlay for this game because that's what I like to do.
Enlighten me.
With our friends over there at Coolbet. This what we got. Over 41.5 because we don't ever bet unders. Because when you do, they bite you in the ass. And then we got an anytime touchdown by Knox and by Harris. So those three things plus 1,100. Feel pretty good about it. A tight end scoring and a running back scoring when the weather is the way it is. I think those might be the only guys that are getting any points in this if you have anything fantasy related. But obviously the game has a lot of implications to this AFC playoff. Obviously that affects you, Kalen, affects us. Chad's pretty much set on easy street as much as the Arizona Cardinals have been hot, and we're going to get into the NFC. I put a whole block of NFC on here because Chad's always so sick of us talking about the AFC. But after the Steelers slapped John Harbaugh in the mouth, the one seed is up for grabs here. And if the Patriots go ahead and win tonight, they have that one seed locked up for at least the time being. And I mean, how do you feel about, like, do you feel any different about the Steelers team? Do you feel any different about the Ravens team? Because I actually have some thoughts about the Ravens team now that I've seen them play a few games in a row here. It might be a little bit different than you think.
Oh, okay. Chad, you want to start or because it's AFC? Do you want me to lead the way here?
I just saw the weather in Buffalo, and that's why.
He said he's shell shocked.
yeah. He's looking for.
Like I just went straight to the Weather Network page, and there's nothing but red warnings when I typed in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not gonna be pretty.
Like they have their winds going 50 miles an hour.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man, the goalposts might move on their own, not from anybody jumping on them or anything like that. Shane, you talking about your Steelers? Listen. It was a great win for you guys last night. You eked one out there at the very end. And I mean, Harbaugh going for 2 at the very end there. I mean, he says it's because he had no corners. Listen, I don't exactly, please don't jump down my throat. I'm not exactly scared of the Steelers passing attack either. They got hot there at the end of the game. Might have been one of the reasons why they won that game. But like, I don't understand why somebody who would be scared of that that offense would being down a few corners. You got to, you guys have been running this weird multiple front type defense forever. Just throw a safety in there. I know they don't have any speedsters on safety. It might be an issue for them, but yeah, I mean, good win for you guys. I just don't know. I don't get it. I think Baltimore gave it to you more than you took it.
I think it shows us who Baltimore
There were 7
is.
sacks, right? There were 7 sacks in the game. So let's take a deep breath and say that it was given up.
Well, I mean, at the same time, I mean, you'll be the first person to admit that when you're betting against a mobile quarterback, you're going to bet the sack over, right? So,
not always.
Well, Lamar's going to take some. But Chad, you were saying anyway, it goes to show what's right.
I think it shows us who the Ravens are, and I think it kind of shows you where they fall in the AFC. Pittsburgh is a decent team. I'd say they're one of the topper. They're in the upper top of the AFC, but on paper, everybody would think. Then by looking at the standings, you're thinking that the Ravens are going to cakewalk them, and they're just going to move in to be that number 1 seed. And like again, not to insult the Steelers, like I think you're a good football. I think the Ravens should be a better team than they are, and they're just not doing what they're supposed to do. And leadership, there's talent there on the field, and it's their leadership. And if they're not going to get the best of their players, maybe you got to start looking somewhere else.
Yeah, and when it comes down to it, yeah, like Harbaugh, that's his own thing, and like what he said, I'm going to touch on that. And I'm glad you brought it up, Kalen. But last year, after 12 weeks, I caught a lot of shit from all of you guys. Steelers were 11-0, but they were the worst 11-0 team to ever play football. Now, if the Ravens and the Ravens this year and the Steelers last year aren't a direct parallel of each other, you're not watching the games. This team, as much as they were the 1 seed going in, they are not a very good team. Lamar Jackson, I don't know if you can say he's regressed because he can still make a play here or there, but the guy cannot throw for shit. And the second that you get in his head, and the second, all they did, they never blitzed more than or rushed more than 4. They just brought the 4th person from different spots, and that 4th person, it scared him. And as soon as he got scared, TJ Watt was there to clean up the mess. And I don't believe a whole lot in the Ravens. as much as our division is the tightest in the AFC, it's more or less because all the teams are about the exact same. None of them are elite, and none of those teams are like valid Super Bowl contenders. None of them.
I can see where this is leading to because the Bengals lost, right? So you got to stuff that down my throat, don't you?
Well, I mean, it shows like where the Bengals are at. I mean, they can get themselves up for a big game, but the second that the Chargers come into town, the guys just aren't ready to play. Joe Burrow bitched about his finger, and honestly, you know what? Maybe the announcers, because I did watch the game, the commentators made a bigger deal, but every time the guy missed a pass, there was something wrong with his finger. Every time he hits a pass, he's such a gutsy player for being able to grip the football. Like, you can't have both. It was an absolute mess. And the Chargers decided to show up, and I don't think that the Chargers are all that great either, even though both of those teams beat us. I don't think that the Chargers are all that great either. And yeah, it showed you where the Bengals are at, man. They're just not an elite team, and they're not ready to take the step that you think that they are. Mm-hmm. The Bengals this year or the Browns last year, probably.
Right? Commentators say lots of silly things. I feel it. And listen, your division every year to year for the last 6 at least years has been that. Like, who's going to show up or who's going to be the topsy-turvy team on top this year? That your team is really hard to bet going in. Like, when you talk about giving out your preseason bets, that's a division I don't think many people want to even try to touch.
Yeah, we didn't touch. The only division that I touched was the New England one, and I'm feeling pretty good about that one at the moment. But that's enough about the North. Look, Ben Roethlisberger is going to show up for a game. He's not going to show up for another game. He's 40 years old. He's basically decided that this is probably his last kick at the can. The wording was a little bit weird when he said this is my last year in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. But I cannot see him playing for another team, as much as maybe that's just homerness, but I can't imagine another team in the NFL that's signing that guy up as their starting quarterback right now.
You know what was weird is when I was watching that game last night and watching that last drive when he was coming out to do it, it was like one of the first times I think in my adult life that I really tried to put myself in his mindset. Is he going in there going, come on, Ben, you can do this. Let's prove him right. Or prove him wrong. Like that's like the first time I was really thinking about it. And part of me, obviously, I wanted you guys to win because it's going to help us in the standings here. But there's a part of me that does want Ben to go out on a high note. Like I would prefer this to be his last year because I don't know how much more he can give to the game anymore. But I would prefer him to go out on a higher note than seeing him walk off the field with tears like we saw last year. As much as I like to rub that in your face once in a while, I'm not looking to see that any year.
His last game this year will probably be in Baltimore, Week 18. So don't be too worried about that. But the South is starting to tighten up a little bit. Are you getting a little bit nervous over there? Because I mean, we wrote the Colts off in Week 5, right? Like we pretty much were like, yeah, fuck the Colts, they're done. Titans won the division, and maybe that went to their heads. But maybe I'm gonna get Chad's opinion on this because you're gonna tell me about Christian Fulton or whatever the fuck is the safety's name, and then I'm gonna get worried. But Chad, are the Colts gonna catch the Titans here?
The Colts can catch the Titans.
I mean, they lost both division games, but like that's okay.
Yeah. I think it's funny because they're built the same way on offense. They have a good enough quarterback, a great running game, some good receivers. I would say that if Tennessee's receivers were healthy, yes, they'd be better than Indianapolis is, but Indianapolis, I think, has a better defense, so it kind of balances it out. But yeah, going down the stretch, as much as we wrote the Colts off, I think they figured something out, and I said Carson Wentz is good enough, and he's good enough for that team and that system. And with a healthy Taylor, they're going to just keep on doing what they're doing. Like, they blew the game against Tampa Bay, but if they don't blow that, then this is a complete different conversation.
Right. Well, yeah, if they don't blow that, then I guess they're both 8-win teams, right? And see how the Titans look coming out of the bye. But as a Titans fan, I mean, is the butthole puckering up a little bit here?
No. And I called the losses going into the last 2 weeks. This is where I think we turned the corner. The Julio got activated this week. Brought off the IR. He's not activated yet, so who knows if he'll play this weekend or not. But Julio's coming back. We got David Long coming back, who's been like the maestro of our defense. He's been a crazy leap in production. He took the starting job from Rashawn Evans this year. So It's great to have him back on the team or coming back. We're going to have AJ come back here in a couple more weeks too. Like we're going to start hitting our stride here at the very end of the season. And as far as like the division, like we're right now, we're in the high 80% right now. If you go to Indy's, like the Indy Tribune or whatever has like a calculator you can put in and put in all the games left for the season so far. Talking right now, we're in the high 80s to win the division. If we beat Jacksonville this weekend, I think we jump up to 96%, which we were like 2 weeks ago again too. So division's going to be in hand. It's really, we're fighting for this bye. Like I'm not worried about losing the division, but that being said, I don't want to match up with Indy in the playoffs, home or away. I don't care what anybody. I don't think anybody wants to play that team in the playoffs right now. Defense is on all cylinders. Jonathan Taylor has finally been let loose this season. The only time they seem to falter, and I've talked about this in prior shows, is when Frank Reich decides to take Taylor out of the game. I have no idea why. So I don't want to meet in the playoffs, but not worried about them preventing us from getting in there. So where I'm at, man.
Right. Well, okay. So I agree that maybe the Colts have dug themselves too deep of a hole because they're behind like a game and a half right now, plus the 2 losses that they have to the Titans head to head. So it would take a little bit of help for them to do it. But I think that there's definitely a possibility. I wouldn't say, and we're not mathematically talking about this right now, but I wouldn't say that there's an 80% chance that the Titans are going to win the division. The Indy Tribune maybe is just trying to put that into the world so that they can try and jinx them. I have no idea why they would do that, but it doesn't seem like a foregone conclusion to me. The only foregone conclusion to me is that the Bengals stink and they're not ready to take the next step. And the last time a quarterback of theirs broke this finger this late in the season, they ended up that was Andy Dalton, by the way. He ended up losing the first round of the playoffs, and I don't think he ever played for the Bengals again. How does that make you feel?
Woof.
Yeah.
Sorry. I believe in Burrows more than I believe in Dalton at any time that he was in Cincinnati. I already believe in Burrows more.
Okay. Well, I mean, does the Chargers defense believe in Burrow, or do they feel pretty good about the way that they played?
I thought we were done beating the horse of the AFC North, Shane. We're coming back to the Bengals.
This is more about the Chargers, to be honest.
Okay.
I mean, dissecting where the Chargers are at, I don't really understand them. It definitely, I mean, none of us can disagree at this point that the Chiefs have taken back control of their division, and that's
they want to take it back to control the AFC.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And I agree with what Chat's saying, and so when it comes down to it, the Chargers are definitely fighting for a wild card spot here. So that was a huge win for them. Massive loss to the Bengals, losing a game like that because both teams are kind of sniffing around the same spot here. But what do you anticipate? Like, what do the Chargers need to do to continue this? Because it's so tossy. Like, they're all over the place.
I think win is the only answer. I don't think there's anything else we really talk about there.
But what is their path to? Because I mean, when Herbert throws, it seems like it works out. Like, are they missing like an actual run game, or is their defense too inconsistent?
I just don't think Austin Eckler's tough enough to get the grinding yards when you're closing the game. Like when you have a quarterback like Herbert and the weapons they have out wide, yeah, throwing the ball is easy. They have a decent offensive line that's great for pass blocking, and that's why he's going to have probably 80 plus catches again this year. Their offense isn't built to play with a lead, and it's very similar to how the Chiefs were built for a couple of years, and when you can't run the ball and you get some shitty weather conditions or you have a lead, you can't be throwing it. It could hurt you. And so I think at this point, how they win the game is they just fucking chuck it. Abandon the run game, play that shootout kind of style game, and you're gonna live by it or die by it. But I think that's their path to success.
And it seems to make sense because that's definitely how they got up quickly on the Bengals, and then they let the Bengals back into it, and then they just they made Burrow make a couple mistakes, and that was basically the difference in the game. But you guys saw that Keenan Allen got put on the what do they call it now, the virus list?
He got 1-9.
Yeah, so it seems like, I mean, depending, TJ Watt last Monday got 1-9, and he played on Sunday, so I don't really understand the rules, nor do I care to understand the rules. But if you're a fantasy player, you might not have Keenan Allen this week. if you're a Chargers fan, you probably just want him to be out there, even if he's not at 100%, so that he can take some coverage away from Mike Williams, who had another great game.
Well, you talk about, what are they going to do here? The 3 of the last 5 games they've got here, guys, are against division opponents. That can sway things pretty significantly if you can get some wins inside your division. The losses they've had this year aren't to bad teams. I mean, they lost to the early year Cowboys, okay, which were playing pretty damn well. And they only lost by a field goal there. They lost to the Ravens. They got mollywopped by the Ravens in Baltimore, and that was an ugly loss for sure. That kind of opened our eyes up to what the Chargers actually are. The other teams that they lost was New England. I mean, New England's going to be that's a team that's taken everybody by surprise this year. So I'm not going to fault them necessarily for that. And then the last loss they had was a division opponent in the Broncos, which, was it in Baltimore? It was in Denver too. So, I mean, you're dealing with Mile High. I'm not here to make excuses. I just think they're a team that isn't ready to be the contender talk, but they're certainly the playoff maker and could make some noise in the playoffs at some point for sure. Talk.
Well, you're talking about the next 5. Like, you're talking about the next 5 games, and I said they have to pass the ball. I just looked it up right now. This wasn't me just trying to be smart before. They have the Giants at home, Chiefs at home. They go to Houston, Broncos at home. They go to LA or Las Vegas. Sorry, they don't have one bad weather game, and both their road games are in a dome. So a team that needs to throw the ball and air it out, they have the perfect conditions. Like, not too many teams can say that in December and January they're only playing warm weather games or they're playing indoors.
Oh yeah,
like, they have controlled climate the rest of the way because they play in a dome as well.
Yeah, they've walked themselves into as tough as their schedule, or as tough as they made their schedule. Again, they haven't lost to bad teams. They've walked themselves into a pretty nice spot right now. That being said, they've also got to play the Chiefs right at home on the turf. That's going to be pretty shitty to go against as well, right? Speed kills.
I mean, they've already beat they already beat the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs' biggest downfall right now is their offense, which is wild to even think that. But even like the guys, like the receivers, don't look like they have the same confidence in Mahomes. But we're not going to get into the Chiefs because I carved out a little bit of time for. It's time to retract a statement that was made at a certain point today, or I think it was week 5 or week 6, where I said we're officially done talking about the Miami Dolphins, and they absolutely fucking stink, and there's no way we're going to talk about them on the show again. Well, since then, they've only won like 4 in a row, 5 in a row, and they're up to 6 and 7 here. So as much as they're probably not realistically in the playoff hunt, they are technically, and 6 and 7 doesn't eliminate you right now. And if they can win out, they look like they're pretty. I mean, they'll be in a pretty good spot. I don't know what the AFC wildcard threshold is going to be. I think it's either going to be 9 or 10 wins, right? So, is it possible that they only take one loss the rest of the year, and the Dolphins can slide themselves back in there with the left-handed assassin, or what?
You want to know their schedule the rest of the season, Shane?
If you got it right in front of you, sure.
I do. We got Jets. They got a bye right this week. Okay, so bye this week. Then you got the Jets, the Saints, the Titans, and the Patriots. So some tough games to end the season with. Even the Saints can show up any given week, right?
Yeah.
Taysom Hill will be playing in that game, but
yeah.
So if they win 8 games though, does Tua save his job?
I think so. I think he's done enough. Yeah.
I don't think Tua's going anywhere job wise. I think that draft pick status, the fact he's got the Alabama pedigree, is just buying him time. If he was from a division like 2 or an FBC or whatever you want to call it, maybe that may be a problem there. But
no, look, man, he's got 10 wins in his first 17 starts now, and his numbers have been a little bit better than anybody gave him credit for, including myself. And as much as I thought, run this guy to town, you have a decent team. I think keep him around because Jalen Waddle and him seem to have a little bit of chemistry. And Gesicki, the old pepper grinder throwback himself, he's got you covered too. So
he's like that Waddle kid's on track for like 112 catches this year. That's ridiculous.
Well, I'm going to give credit to Chad and I for that because anytime that Chad and I draft a receiver in our Dynasty League, they decide to go off. So our last receiver... What's that?
It's a straight cash, homie.
Yeah. Our last 3 picks at receiver in our Dynasty League were Justin Jefferson, not sure if you ever heard of him. Chase Claypool, not sure if you ever heard of him, and Jalen Waddle.
So,
and we don't even start all of those guys.
I walked into this weekend. I stopped paying attention to fantasy when I was up by about 42 points, and I was going to projected to beat him by 27 or something like that. And then Justin Jefferson happened. So now I'm actually down. That actually leads me to the next question I was going to ask. I know we don't talk a lot of fantasy here, guys. Who is more likely to get me 12 points, Bolden or Henry? That's what I need.
Like Derrick Henry? I would go with Bolden.
No, Hunter
Yeah,
Henry. Hunter Henry.
No, I think Hunter Henry is probably your guy. I mean,
you know what's weird? Though, like Bolden's been putting up double digits like every game, whereas Henry's only been putting up like 7 and 9 points. Like if I need 12 gets me the win. So I'm gonna listen to you guys at the end of the game. I'll put whoever you guys tell me to put in. Then I know you're in that league, Shane, so don't try and screw me over here.
Yeah, I'm
playing
sure
Shane right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would go with Henry. I don't know if we're playing each other straight up, but let's put a pin in the AFC there because things are going to change after this, and I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about it on Thursday anyway. Let's switch over to the NFC because now things are starting to get a little bit. I don't know. There's a little bit of separation because in the AFC, your most win team is 8. Now you switch over to the NFC, you got a little bit the more elite teams are there. You know, I don't think we can say enough about the. Sorry, what are you getting upset about?
I would say the worst teams are there, and that's why these guys got such stacked wins over there. They're beating up on the real bad teams.
You don't think the Cardinals are good?
No, well, I think
is Green Bay good?
I would say that the Lions are not very good, and Chicago's not very good, and I would say that the Seahawks are not very good.
Okay, and I mean the same people would say that the Jets, the Texans, and the Jaguars are also not good. So I mean we can continue to talk about the lowest like 3 teams in each conference if we want, but I think it's fair to say that there isn't a team in the AFC right now that would be competitive against Arizona. I think that's fair to say. I also think that Green Bay would be favored against any team in the AFC right now. I also think that the Bucks would be favored against any team in the AFC right now. And then you get to the Cowboys and you really you don't know where they're at, but that offense was the number 1 offense in the league until seems like 3-4 weeks ago. So I do think that they're more top heavy in the NFC, but that's where the elite teams are. There isn't an elite team that's separated themselves in the AFC yet. If you're talking about the Titans, and I know you're getting mad over there, if you had all of your receivers healthy, your defense healthy, and Derrick Henry, we're talking a different story. But we're talking about reality and life right now.
I legitimately, I'm reality right now. If we're talking AFC, I legitimately think that New England is crazy. They have the number 1 scoring defense. They have the number 2 rushing defense. They have a quarterback who's finding his way, 2 running backs making noise, and an offensive line that's gelling. I think one of those. I think that team can stack up against any one of those teams you mentioned right there. And
as a bookmaker, you would look at that, and even if the game was played in New England, Arizona would get points. Arizona would be probably like a -3 on the road, maybe 3.5 against New England in Foxborough. So,
I don't know. I think Arizona would have those kind of numbers. The only team that I think that would have those kind of numbers that you're asking or you're saying is be something like Tampa Bay because of Tom Brady. And that would be the only reason. I think those other 2 teams, Green Bay, same thing. I have no reason to believe that New England couldn't stack up against that team, defensively and offensively.
Well, they can't. Let's go to we're just going to talk about the Cardinals for a second because I saw a crazy stat the other day, and they're only the 2nd team in NFL history to win all of their first 7 road games by 10 or more points. Isn't that like you don't think that's eye-popping? 2 of them.
But if they go to Foxborough, they won't be the favorite.
Yeah, 2 of them were with a backup quarterback, Colt McCoy, who stunk all his entire career. And
okay.
Arizona's good. Watch out for Arizona.
I never once said that Arizona wasn't good, did I? I just said that New England match up very well with anybody in the NFC.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, Chad's been on the Cardinals for about 2 years now. It looks like the Cardinals have finally caught up. They got a bit of a run game. Defense is strong. Buda Baker continues to get caught from behind, but Any reason to believe that the Cardinals aren't going to hang on to this 1 seed?
They're only a game up.
Yeah, and the team behind them did beat them too, right?
Yeah, they got the Packers and the Bucks are right there. And realistically, the Cardinals, I think they still have to play the Rams. I don't know for sure. I'm not going to sit here and make that guess, but
next Monday night.
I'm assuming they do.
Yeah, it's next Monday night.
And the NFC South sucks. I'm the first to admit it. There's no reason why the Bucks, with the schedule we have left, that we shouldn't be okay. Are we going to go 14-13? Probably not. I don't know if that's a realistic number, but 13-5 12-5 is not bad. 13-4, I'll take.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the Bucks they have probably the easiest schedule remaining with their division. But yeah, I think the Cardinals they're still the best team in football. But I think the Cardinals, the Packers, and the Bucks, they're 1, 2, and 3.
Right. And I think that the top 3 teams are all in that conference, and it's don't think that we hate the Patriots or the Titans, or I actually don't really think that the Ravens are that good, especially after watching the last 2 weeks. But I would put the Bills above where the Ravens are. But if you take your top 3 NFC teams and your top 3 AFC teams, I'll put my money with the NFC for sure. As far as the Packers go, they didn't play this week, so there's not really much to report on them. Hopefully, for their sake, that they can get healthy on their O-line and make a push here. But what about a team like the Rams? They get Jacksonville. They win by 30 points. Is this actually considered a get-right game? Because you beat the team that you're supposed to beat, and you probably beat them as bad as you were supposed to beat them. But going into next week against the Cardinals, the Rams and the Cardinals, do you really feel like the Rams are back on track now? And any reason to believe that they're going to be competitive against the Cardinals?
Well, they got Matthew Stafford out of the pocket. I don't know if you saw the entire game. He was out of the pocket finally, which is something that he had incredible success with at the beginning of the season. And then for some reason, they started going back to this shotgun, just standing in one spot, or single back. That's not what LA does, but there was no bootlegs. There was no motions at all. And I think that's what they got to get back to. They were able to do that against a bad team and maybe get some practice time in, live scrimmages, some would call, after you're up by as many points as they were. So I certainly could call it a get right game. A win's a win in the NFL. Doesn't matter who you're doing it against. And they were looking really good in that game. There was not too many complaints that a coach would have.
Do you know who the Cardinals have left? I just pulled this up. Rams.
No.
The Rams, Colts, Cowboys, and Seahawks are 4 of their 5 games.
All right. Well, that's that's going to be a schedule. But
that's
look,
kind of that's playoff football going down the stretch.
Yeah, we've counted them out a little bit, and over the last whatever it's been, I guess 20 months. We've counted them out for about 20 months now, and they keep proving us wrong. I feel like it's a different team this year, and with that kind of a murderer's row down the stretch, maybe it makes sense why they sat Kyler for a month to get himself together. But what about the Washington football team? Because I wasn't I wasn't super impressed after any of the stuff that I've seen. But it does seem like, and I said it last week, that Heineke might be their guy. And I think that they're going to stick with Heineke. The team just seems to do enough to win the game. And they won ugly. It was not a sexy win against Vegas, but an absolutely massive win, and they fought themselves back to 500. And they fought themselves back into a playoff race here.
Yeah.
You believe in them?
Believe in that defense. Like I said, that front seven's making moves, still pushing the line, and that's what matters when a team is borderline like they are. As long as you have a front four, or front seven, they can push that line like they're doing. They can certainly lean on that. The running game is getting them nearly 100 yards a game, which is usually the recipe for success in the NFL too. And Heineke, he takes shots. I mean, I don't
Yep.
think, again, I called him bridge quarterback last episode. I still think that's kind of what he is. But what he does allow that team to do is he'll take the shots downfield that Fitzpatrick would have done. And with Scary Terry being there, most of those shots are going to be caught. So I think that they can certainly have some fun. I don't know if, again, this is one of the, we talked earlier about, are they a contender or are they just somebody that makes some noise to get to the playoffs? I think they could be a team that makes some noise to get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically like, like the bottom end of the teams that are in the AFC right now. Like they're of the same caliber as these teams. You never know what you're gonna get, but you're gonna get a fight with them when you play them. And I think Antonio Gibson is far better as an NFL player than I ever thought he would be. And they can, if they can move the ball with the run game and Heineke makes a throw here or there, it's definitely not going to help them not having Logan Thomas. But I guess they haven't had him for the last 6 weeks. Comes back for 1 week, tears his ACL and MCL in the same play.
No, he didn't.
He
didn't tear it. No, they found the MRI today said there was no tear. So they were going to further the.
I would test this guy then.
Yeah, I know. I don't get it, man. And they asked Rivera about that hit too, and he kind of just said, it's a play that could have been avoided. I understand why it happened, but it's a play that could be avoided, and we should be trying to protect each other. So.
Yeah, man, this guy must have like something injected into his blood that just helped him regenerate. He's the Terminator, because I definitely thought that was season ending, and then I saw the reports. It seemed like it was season ending, so news to me right now that that's not season ending, and good for him, because that would be a crazy rehab to come back from. But I don't know. Let's stay in that division for a second, because this is the story that I'm very excited to talk about. Is there a quarterback controversy in Philadelphia?
No. Next
No?
question.
No.
I know Gardner's for the people. I get that. But there's no quarterback controversy. I think him coming out and playing really well, if anything, is going to get him a job interview next year again. He can go somewhere else and compete, but it won't be in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
The offense looks way better with him. Way better.
Your coach is married to what it comes down to. Whether Minshew comes out and like throws the lights out, you're going to be your coach and your quarterback are married together, so you're going to go that route. You made that choice when they started him this year.
I think it's
like with the GM, you mean, or the coach? Like, you think the GM wouldn't allow it to stick, or you think the coach was like, ship Carson out of here?
I think it's a bit of both. I think it was more or less, this is what you're going to do, and we're going to live by him or die by him. It's up to you to make it work. And the worst thing that could have happened is having a backup quarterback come in and play well, because now we're dumb, stupid people like us are having this conversation.
I don't think it's as stupid of a conversation as you think.
I just the conversation was just people like this conversation. Big difference.
Oh, I'm stupider than you think. I'm definitely stupider.
I know. I just don't think that it's a controversy just because the fact that they're married to their guy, and it's that simple.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chad. He's for the people. He looks great in that mustache. He looks crazy cool coming in, looking like he's Top Gunning in his aviators and stuff pregame. And he does just like Heineke does. He's willing to take those shots downfield. But I would say that he arguably had better weapons when he was in Jacksonville, and we saw what we got out of him out of a full season. He's just not an NFL caliber starting quarterback. I think Philadelphia, like Chad said, they are married to the quarterback that they have there now. And I don't think that he deserves to have his spot taken by some guy who beat up on the Jets. I know I got to take it easy on them because they beat us, but beating up on the Jets is nothing that you write home about.
He ran the offense better than Jalen Hurts has been able to. The O-line actually was able to block in their position the way that you normally would, without having to worry about holding when the guy breaks contain. The offense looked, they were able to get Dallas Goedert involved. They actually able to generate a run game out of it because the O-line wasn't so gassed running around the field the whole time. So they were giving the ball to Miles Sanders. It looked like a more proper style of offense. Again, it's one snapshot. It's one game. I can't imagine that Jalen Hurts is going to allow this guy to play a second game. But I think if he played a second game and he played even 75% as good as he did against the Jets, then the controversy gets started. And I don't know who the Eagles have next week, but
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Minshew has to play.
They got to bye first, and then they got Washington. Sorry.
Okay, so if Minshew has to play coming out of the bye, and the bye might be the thing that saves Jalen Hurts' job, in my opinion. But Minshew comes out of the bye because Hurts still isn't ready to go, and he beats Washington, and the team starts to get hot and starts to rally around him. All I'm saying is a second-round pick does not, like, I've seen divorces over way less than a second-round pick.
Hey, leave me out of this.
and that's all I'm saying. So they don't have a lot of money tied up in this guy. A second-round pick isn't a big deal. Obviously, I mean, they were able to make the trade, so they got some picks in return. It's something to watch. It's something.
All I'm saying is we had this exact conversation 5 weeks ago with the guy that we were calling White Lotus. We had the exact same conversation.
We did.
And we said the best thing that can happen to the Jets is that he has to play bad because you don't want to have this conversation again. I just don't think that the Eagles will let that conversation even start.
The bye week is the thing that might save it. And, I didn't realize they were going into a bye and, but you traded for this guy. You brought him in as much as you gave up Dick All for him. He played well. Even if Jalen Hurts is the guy that comes out and plays outside of the bye here, the first sign of struggle, the Philly fans are going to turn on him. So let's see how she goes. Let's see how she plays out.
Isn't that just like
big
Philly
news,
though? Doesn't matter who's in there.
Well,
turn
absolutely it is.
First sign of struggle.
Yeah, big news out of the Motown. Apparently, Dan Campbell's going to keep his job for one more year because he found a way to. It looked like at one point he was intentionally trying to lose the game, but no one knows how to lose a game better than the Minnesota Vikings. So I was sitting here and I was watching it because it was like, fuck. I was kind of annoyed. I thought it was going to go into overtime for some reason. This was before the Minnesota score. And I'm like, the Steelers game's on the same channel. This stinks. This is the worst. I'm going to have to watch the Lions in overtime against Minnesota until the Steelers game starts. So I'm watching it. They go for it. The Lions go for it on fourth down on like their 30-yard line. And Goff turns it over. So it's like, okay. Minnesota just goes ahead, pops one in really quick. I'm like, all right, well, maybe that was too quick, but whatever. And then they dropped a couple interceptions down the field, and I maybe you guys can explain to me the defensive scheme for that touchdown play, because I don't understand the thinking of we can't let anybody by us when the snap is on the 8-yard line.
Well, I don't understand why they only guarded the back 5 yards of the end zone.
Well, you don't want to get beat over top, right? You don't want to get beat over the top.
I guess you don't want the bomb going over your head. I don't know. I more or less felt that way watching the whole drive. Like there was a minute and 38 seconds or minute 37 seconds left. And I don't care who you are. If you're in the NFL, you can probably run a 2-minute offense.
I hope so.
If like it's what you're paid to do. Especially when your offensive line isn't that great. And then the team that you're playing decides not to send pressure. And they all drop back and they're playing like a cover 4 umbrella. Your linebackers are up and deep, and Jared Goff's like, hey, I stuck at playing quarterback, but I can throw the ball 7 yards. And that's all he did. Checked it down to running backs, checked it down to Hawkinson across the middle, and they just nickel and dime their way the whole way down. Took shots. I mean, despite the ball, sorry, did not take any shots. Yeah, they get to the end zone, and I actually don't know what the Vikings were doing. Mike Zimmer is supposed to be a defensive mind coach. I hope he gets fired. Like, I think he has to.
If the Vikings don't make the playoffs, he has to.
Like, you have a quarterback who's putting up close to MVP numbers that no one even likes or cares about. You have arguably the top receiving tandem in the NFL, top 3 probably. And then you're supposed to be a defensive-minded coach, and you're letting teams walk all over you. And then you lose to a lonely team like the Lions because of horrible defensive calls. you sent pressure on one play and you almost got a turnover.
Right.
That should be a recipe right there that you should be saying pressure.
It was a sad display, a really sad display.
Yeah, it makes me like, when you used to play Madden, I know Shane, it's been a while since you probably played some hardcore Madden, but when you back in the day when you're doing your franchises and you could sign a coach and the coach would give you like a boost in attributes, right? You'd have one that would be, better secondary, or you'd sign Pete Carroll and you'd be more likely to get free agents or whatever. Mike Zimmer, as you mentioned, defensive-minded coach. He's a DB specialist. This is what he's been known as, right? He's a DB type coach. He drafts first-round corners every year he's been in Minnesota, and you let the pass attack chip you apart to win the game at the very end there. And how many times have we seen Minnesota let that happen to them? How many times have
you let Detroit's pass offense do this to you?
That's right. Yeah. I don't get it. You mentioned Zimmer's got to be on the hot seat right now if he doesn't make the playoffs. I don't even know. Like, why is Zimmer still there? 3 years ago, we should have been out of there. I don't care about the miracle or not, right? So I just don't get it. You're a defensive specialist. You're a DB specialist. Get your corners to the line. Talk about getting beat over the top. It's pretty hard to get beat over the top when you're punching them in the mouth at the line of scrimmage, right?
They just showed the stadium again. It says it feels like 27 Fahrenheit.
Oh my god!
With that, like, get a blanket and get ready for this game. But yeah, I mean, the Lions getting the win, I guess, good for them. I still don't think that Dan Campbell's the guy. And
did you hear what he said to Jared Goff after?
No.
Well, that's how you throw that goddamn ball, mother. Yells it in his ear, and he was asked. So somebody thought that they had caught it on the sidelines, and in the press conference, he said, "So what did you say to Jared?" And he said the line straight out, right in front of everybody again.
All right, well, that makes me want to like him a little bit more, even though right? I don't know. He's not a very good coach, but
yeah, not at all.
Yeah, another coach got dumped in Carolina because apparently, if you can't cut it with Sam Darnold and Cam Newton as your offensive play callers, then you don't deserve to be an offensive coordinator in the NFL. Which I think that it has to be a fight between the head coach and the offensive coordinator on schematics, because this guy wasn't really given a fair shake and they moved on from him pretty quick. Not like we're going to break down a whole lot of Carolina Panthers tape to give a shit about it, but I was going through some stats and just, it's week 13. Let's figure out where we're at. Who's the MVP right now?
Oh, God.
Derrick Henry. Just to make Kellen happy.
He's still number 2 in rushing.
They're not the same team without him. No. I'm still saying it's Tom Brady.
You know why he's doing this, right, Chad?
I think the only thing it can't be is Kyler Murray, right? Like, all due respect to the Cardinals, love what they're doing, but they were able to win without him, and if you can win games without him,
I think it hurt his stock.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what he's doing, though, Chad, right? You know what he's trying to get us to say right now? There's going to be a record very likely broken this year. And if it gets broken, it's got to go to TJ. He's at 16 sacks through 10 games right now. Was he like 7 sacks away from the record?
Well, hey, and he's missed 2 games. So it isn't exactly where I was leaning, but Defensive Player of the Year, I think that's already locked up.
Man, I know it'd be crazy to think. What was the last defensive player that won it? Was it Ray?
Won the MVP?
Yeah. Was it Ray or Bob Sanders? Bob Sanders probably won the last one, right?
I'm going to say not Bob Sanders. I don't think he's ever won an MVP.
He won Defensive Player of the Year, right?
Yeah, we don't give that thing to defensive players. Maybe Michael Strahan when he had 23. Maybe that'd be the only time.
We might need you on this one.
Yeah. But yeah, no. I think it's still Tom Brady. It's a quarterback league. Just look up the history of MVPs, please and thank you. I think it was going to be Derrick Henry if he stayed the course. I think Jonathan Taylor really brought his name into this. But at the end of the day, it's a quarterback league, and I think that's where it's going to go. And that they're not going to give it to Aaron Rodgers because no one likes him anymore, except for me.
Right.
What
just defensive player.
Yeah.
To say their position. The fact that you took a big deep swallow makes it mean it's that long ago. It wasn't on the first screen.
I think it's long, man.
Lawrence Taylor. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and that's a
it might not be TJ.
No, I don't think it's going to be either. But
I just say with no clear front runner, I think that's a year that a defensive candidate could make it. And what he's done single-handedly to get the Steelers to where they are, like it's really on his back. And a few of these games have been won, right?
Yesterday's game was 100% him.
Mm-hmm. And the game that came back after his injury, the first game he got back after the injury was you could tell right away. This is what we missed.
Yeah. I mean, without a pass rush, you don't have anything. And even that final play of the game, it was his rush on Lamar Jackson that forced the throw to be hot. And like I said, if he put any air on it, it would have been, I would be pissed off right now. But, he didn't because he sucks at playing quarterback. So we're in good shape. But I don't know, man. I think that it like Chad's definitely right. Like, I mean, right now, if the vote came out, it would be for Tom Brady. But I think that a guy like Josh Allen could separate himself over the next 5 weeks. I don't know. I guess if Kyler Murray comes out and puts up huge numbers, then he could separate himself too. But it's pretty cool that at this point in time, we can't even really come up with we can't even come up with a candidate because we know the people that we would pick just aren't going to get picked by the people that actually make the decisions. It's just not really how it works.
What's wrong with Tom Brady? Why is everybody hating on Tom Brady? Why is he getting voted?
Oh, I don't hate him. I think that you're 100% right. I think that if the season ended right now, or if the vote had to happen right now, like Brady would be it might even be a landslide vote. Whoa. I just don't even know who else to put in the conversation.
JT.
Yeah, but we all know that a running back's not going to get it.
Depends. I don't know where he is in the scrimmage yardage numbers. That's the big thing because his scrimmage yardages have really picked up this year. So if he breaks that record, that's significant.
Right. Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, maybe the MVP voters will do the same thing that the Heisman did, and they actually implemented what's called the Michigan rule. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this.
No.
Apparently, when there's a Michigan player that is some kind of significance, they decide to add an extra finalist to the Heisman. Have you guys seen the Heisman list?
No. They got the new Notre Dame rule.
Yeah, so every year that I can ever remember there being a Heisman Trophy, there's 3 finalists that go to the stage.
Yeah.
This year there's 4. Because they wanted this Hutchinson kid to be on the stage. So it's Young, obviously, Stroud, Pickett from Pittsburgh, and this Hutchinson kid, which, I mean, if you're going to put 4, you might as well just put 5. Like, you're going to honestly tell me that you think this Hutchinson kid has had a bigger impact on Michigan than Kenneth Walker did on Michigan State?
I feel like they just got to do it in order to keep the defense happy.
Guy led the nation in rushing. He has like 25 touchdowns. Like, give me a break.
Not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Like, the voting's over. It's going to be Bryce Young.
I like that Pickett kid when we were at your place watching that game. I know it was an air show, but I don't know if you saw his one touchdown where he ran it in and he did the finger roll that Tanny does.
Can we talk about that though? I'd like that pork. He's going to be the reason that someone takes his own fucking head off though, because no one's ever going to believe that again.
No, yeah.
He's going to go to slide, and he's going to slide, and someone's going to take his fucking head off because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to happen in the bowl game.
And then there goes his NFL career.
Guys, we're getting really close here. Am I putting in Henry? Is that who I'm starting with then? Over Bolden?
I would start Henry, man. Yeah.
All right.
I would start Bolden.
Yeah, we got about 7 minutes left here. As far as college football goes, we're gonna have so much time to talk about college football. The playoffs are set. Unfortunately, Michigan made it in. I actually am kind of annoyed to say that they're probably going to beat Georgia too, which is like enough to make you want to barf in your mouth. I know. It's probably like I do think it's going to be Alabama and Michigan in the finals, which is going to be.
Do you think? I know,
basically going to ruin our 100th episode, but
I know that it's pointless of me to even ask the two of you this question. But there is a lot of even non-Michigan fans that said that they drastically are just pushing for this Georgia-Alabama final, and that should have been Michigan at number 1. What are your thoughts?
Oh,
I told you. I've been saying that the whole time. They wanted the SEC final.
But now is that you saying? Are you admitting then that you believe that Michigan should be number 1 then?
No.
No, the winner of
Alabama is the best team in the country, hands down. I've said that.
Yeah.
I think I said that even since they've lost. I've been saying they're the best team in the country. And then you brought up the Auburn thing saying they shouldn't have been ranked. And I was like, they're still the fucking best team in the country. They should be number one. Cincinnati should only ever be 4. We already all knew that. They weren't going to get a better seed than 4. And if Alabama would have lost to Georgia, then yeah, then we could have this conversation about how it was going to work. But Alabama won. They took care of business. They dominated the number 1 team in the country. So yes, they should be the number 1 team in the country. And if Michigan does beat Georgia, hey, cool, good for them. And they're going to get slapped by Alabama.
100%.
I've never said this with so much confidence. Roll Tide. That was painful. But it's because Michigan can't win.
Yeah, and look, the people that want Michigan to be the number 1 seed are the same people that want there to be 4 Heisman finalists, and I have no respect for any of them. makes me want to get sick.
And they were going to make Alabama and Georgia play 2 weeks in a row.
Well, right, and it doesn't make sense ranking wise, and like you can't tell me that if Alabama's number 1, then Georgia's number 4.
Yeah,
and the sheer thought that somebody would think that Michigan's number 1. I mean, how? In what way? I mean, I guess
they lost to Michigan State, so that means they lost to the number 11th ranked team in the country.
Well,
Right.
I will just say, I mean, they have beat some pretty good teams, right? You said the only way they were going to beat Ohio State was the run game. They did it. Michigan State
Right.
was a big statement win too, and when Michigan State was coming in pretty hot. They've played in a tough conference that we've been given praise to all year.
Well, hold on a sec. They didn't beat Michigan State.
Oh, sorry, they lost to Michigan State. Sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Which is why it's even a conversation.
Well, I just think that they've done well in a conference we've been praising all year. That Ohio State win is a huge one. I don't know. I think the hatred might be just kind of shining through a little bit, guys.
No, it's common sense.
It's the top football conference in college football is the SEC. And if you can make it through that with 1 loss and dominate your championship game against what was one of the most elite defenses in like college football history, like Bryce Young put up 421 passing yards. The game, it was a boat race. They destroyed them.
Mm-hmm.
And they deserve to be the number 1 seed. The winner of that game, whoever it was going to be the number 1 seed. So I don't know. Maybe if it was a closer game, you might have like a case, but there's no way.
And there's no way Cincinnati's going in at 3 ahead of any of those teams.
Right.
Like you telling me that Georgia goes to 3 and Michigan goes up. That's the same thing as saying Michigan should be below Cincinnati, in my eyes. It's the same argument.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, and you're right. And, they might have even put Alabama in if they lost. I don't think so. I think that Notre Dame would have jumped them, but it doesn't matter. Ifs and buts, right? But a couple of coaching moves, and then we'll just do final thoughts before they kick off here. Oklahoma gets their quarterback, or gets their coach from Clemson. Venables, which I know that guy was like the highest paid coordinator in all of college football. So I would imagine that they rolled out like a pretty good chunk of money for him. Why would a defensive coach go to the Big 12? I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. I guess they're going to be in the SEC eventually. And Mario Cristobal left Oregon today for Miami, which again, I don't really understand that. It's not really, to me this year
is a USC. That's why.
Maybe.
Well, I think in the defensive thing,
I guess I would maybe want out of the Pac-12 too.
And the defensive coordinator going to the Big 12, any improvement is improvement in the Big 12, right? So if you get them going from averaging 500 yards against averaging 450, you're doing your job.
And one question for Chad before we after this, the Band-Aid's fully ripped off. Did you know that Brian Kelly was trying to keep this a secret so that he could coach the bowl game?
No, I didn't know that until I saw that today. And
yeah, and then it leaked. And
I also heard a story how he was at a commit's house with Tommy Reese the day that he took the job, and he literally left the visit to go take the phone call from LSU and came in and finished the meeting. And Tommy Reese had no idea, and he made Tommy Reese look like an idiot in front of this kid's family. And the dad comes out and he's like, he sat at my house and ate my barbecue. And
So now
and
they're
I
going
guess
to
what?
LSU or what?
No, he's still committed to Notre Dame.
Good for him.
Supposedly, he's still gonna sign, and it's because I guess Tommy Reese flew back and saw him.
Good for him. Seems like Tommy Reese is probably a good guy. We should have him on here one time. Maybe he'll make some time for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, we got tons of time to talk about college football. There's not even going to be a meaningful game for the next 3 weeks. And by the time these things actually kick off, it's about 4 weeks away. So we'll break down a little bit of bowl stuff. And, obviously Michigan State is playing Pitt in the Peach Bowl. That's going to be fun. What do you guys got for final thoughts before we go watch this fucking Ice Bowl?
Stay warm, man. Stay warm, and let's watch the run game, man. That's who's gonna win. Let's see what Mac Jones can do in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Just when you're watching this, remember that we're having double digits tomorrow, guys. So we're not going to be experiencing this again for a few days anyway.
Yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and main thing to take away from today is the Harbaugh brothers are both bitches, and neither one of them know how to stand behind anything, and they're shitty leaders. So let's finish the show on that note, because that's a fun way to end. Make sure you're checking out the Facebook, Instagram, subscribing to the YouTube. One of these days, Kaylin's gonna blow the dust off of our Twitch page and play a video game or two. I don't know. What did I missed something. Anyway, definitely did. Make sure you check that out. Go check out Kickoff. It looks fucking freezing. Mac Jones is running on the field. Cheers.